All right, so now we're going to look at a wheel that has pegs. Okay, so if you could show them those pegs. On the back of these bats, there are little holes. And I personally don't like to throw on a wheel with bats because these tend to wobble once the wheel starts spinning, and it's sometimes difficult to know if your clay is off center or if it's just your bat wiggling around with the centrifugal force. So what you can do, I've got, it doesn't look like it, but it's about 5 napkins stacked up. You guys can go get some paper towels out of the bathroom. I've wet the paper towels, and I'm going to place that right there in the middle of the wheel head. And then I'm going to line these holes up with those keys. And it helps if you're touching the holes and then you kind of touch the pegs. You guys hear that? It's probably still going to move around a little bit. So you can take a pencil and you can mark where the ring is. Also, can you see how the back looked like it was cut right? So you can trick your brain into thinking that your clay is not centered. But what you're looking for is you don't want your arms and your legs to be shaking anymore. And I'll show you how to check that again. So I'm just going to wet my finger and, well, that's not going to work because I'm going to wet my wheel head. So we're going to wet the bat, but we already kind of have a ring there anyway. But if you want, again, you can use a pencil to mark it. Okay, so we're going to dry that off. And let's move it a lot. We're going to place our clay down. Okay, that obviously is not in the center, so I'm going to move it to the center as close as I can. One thing that you can do to help center is you can hit the clay from 3 and 9 o'clock, and I'm hitting toward the center, but also spinning the wheel. Okay, so we're going to start everything the same. Okay, so I'm using my left hand to raise, and that sound that you hear is the bat, and I'm going to use my right hand to lower. Okay, notice how I do not take my hand off of the clay, and I'm going to lower. Think of clay as water and your hands as a dam. When this is spinning, the clay is, you know, it's pretty liquid if you think about it. It's very plastic, and it's moving, and it's, you know, it's hard to kind of keep it in that centered area when this wheel is spinning. So your hands actually act as a dam. So think of your clay as kind of this raging river, and your hands are keeping that river kind of in check and keeping it from overflowing or going off center. So we're going to, again, we're going to lift up and we're going to lower. And that sound might be happening because of the wet paper towels. Okay, so again, notice how everything's tucked in. My elbows are tucked in. Got my head over the clay. We're going to check and make sure that if your fingers are still kind of wobbling or shaking, that means you need to center more. Okay, so I've got a little bit of a wobble, so I'm going to center just a little bit more. Okay, and remember I've got my sponge in my hand, and every once in a while I'm squeezing some water. And let's check again. That looks great. Okay, so my fingers are still. I'm going to get rid of that ramp. Okay, it does help visually. It helps your brain a little bit so that you can see that your clay is see that your clay is centered. We're going to use our thumbs again. We're grasping the clay here. We're going to push straight down. If you don't get it all in the first push, that's okay, but wet your fingers again and go down a little bit further. I'm going to use the side of my hand to kind of bring that in again. And now we're gonna stop the wheel. Oops. And we're gonna check with our needle tool. We're gonna insert, slide down, hold our finger there. It's about a 1/2 inch, good to go. So I'm gonna cover that. I'm gonna go through this more quickly than the last time. We're gonna pull out again toward 3 and 9. Wet the clay again at 12. Pull out a little bit more. Keep that bottom flat. Cone in. Compress. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cone in again. And our first pull. Crab hand. Thumbs are together. Think of that soft peach or plum. I've got these fingers underneath my left thumb. And we're gonna do that pulling of the volcano. Again, not a cylinder. Wet my hands. Cone. So we're squeezing in and lifting up. Wet the clay at 12. And again, elbows are tucked in. Fingers are together at the base. Soft plum analogy. We're going to pull up toward your nose. Slow release at the top. I'm going to get that water out of the base. This is a little bit different shape than the last one. The last one was more cylindrical. This one, the rim's kind of coming out a little bit. And I kind of like that because, believe it or not, it makes it easier to drink out of. So we're gonna wet the clay again at 12. Do one more little tiny shaping pull. Slow release. Forefinger and thumb for the left hand and index finger, and you're going to push down a little bit and clean that rim. Clean the water out. Take your wooden rib, hold it flush. Notice how I've never stopped the wheel. Push into the base. Stop the wheel. Take my wire tool, wrap it around my left hand fingers. Keeping these fingers flush. We're gonna pull through. Now the great thing about bats is you now take this cup and you put it outside or wherever you want to let it kind of set up to dry. And I'll show you guys how to take it off later. But you definitely need to cut through the bottom. The reason you do that is because if you don't, the clay will start shrinking as it dries, and it's going to try to pull itself up off of this bat, and it's going to crack. Okay, so not as scary or precarious as pulling the piece off that I did the first time, but it's definitely doable. Okay, so again, taking the splash pan off, cleaning, and going through that whole process again.